Hello. It's the beginning of the end. It's day 3. I don't have a bow tie to untie. I was going to do that. I was going to rent a tux on it, but I didn't have time
Oh,
today. So I could untie it and it'd be like the end of the telethon. And it's not over, so don't get me wrong. I mean, there's tomorrow, but you know how the last day of cons are, and you go over and they've given away all the whatevers that was you wanted, and people are taking their exhibits down. You go, could I see? No.
that's
But the
true.
expo is open till 1 o'clock tomorrow. But you know how that goes because I've
Yes,
been on
but
that
Thursday
side.
morning is not right.
And so I'm Doug White from Security Weekly News, Mandy Logan, also from Paul's Security Weekly et al. And so
Yes.
that's like, and it's not the end. It's just there's like this flicker off at the other end of the tunnel that might be the Jersey Path train, but it could just be somebody lighting a cigarette in the tunnel. Uh, it's probably the Jersey Path train. But so it's great having you here.
Thank you. It
I mean,
is
I know
great.
you've
And
been here all day too.
I have been here all day. Yes, I've been here all week. And yesterday, even though it seemed 4 days long, it was only Tuesday, right? And so we've now had Wednesday, which only seemed maybe 2 or 3 days long, and packed with a lot of information. And what shocks me is I didn't even get to attend a briefing. I didn't get to go to any of the learning labs. I didn't even get to do those things. There's so much information.
Yeah, I mean, the expo alone is sort of a little like run. I mean, I went over there and looked in the door. I was trying to get my nerve, but I was like, it's too much. I mean, not
Was
really,
it?
but I mean, it's huge, and there's so much to do. You have to have a plan. You have to think, this is a really complicated kind of thing. There's like buildings all over the place.
Right.
There's parties all over town, and that definitely makes it a little bit overbearing for me, just because it's like, okay, I'd like to do this and this. Oh wait, I don't. Can I get? No.
No, you kind of almost have to go in like a horse with blinders. Like I set a map and I go, okay, these are the vendors that I want to get to. Now, I only have gone through South Expo so far. I didn't make it into North. And I would say with South, I only really got to explore probably 50% of it and speak with about 20% of the vendors that I had mapped as my goal. And I don't know that the expo floor is that different than last year. But what I did like was that the first time exhibitors
Hmm.
and getting to go on the exterior of the expo floor where you have the smaller vendors, like that's one of my favorite parts, getting to actually
Yeah, it is.
speak
Yeah, that's cool.
with people. And yet I did get a couple of pretty cool swag things, one being an air tag. I was
Wow.
like, that was nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the amount of swag that is out there and the amount we were trying to estimate earlier. Do you have an estimate of the dollar spend on toys that are at RSA?
I don't like to think about it. I mean, it's unbelievable. I was watching people come out earlier. I went outside to cool off, and I was just watching people with the bags,
Yes.
and I was like, wow, that's a lot of stuff, and that's probably just a tiny portion. I did learn those lessons a long time ago about going around with the swag bag and just everybody that puts
Right.
something in, and you get back to your hotel room and go, what am I going to do with all this?
Nothing. You're
Yeah,
going to do nothing
and
with
then you
any
leave
of it.
it.
Right.
But I mean, I saw people with like boxes of tech and stuff too. It wasn't even just like stress balls. It was like, whoa, what's in that? And
Absolutely. And then yesterday we got to go by the bookstore.
yeah, wasn't that cool?
It was very cool.
I didn't even know that was there. And then Larry said he wanted to go to the bookstore, and I would encourage you to go to the bookstore because
I agree.
they have the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
shelves, which
The
I thought was
50
really
top
cool. I mentioned
cybersecurity books,
I
right?
mentioned that this morning, and it's books from the industry, not fiction books necessarily, but like not textbooks even, but like important books. And I was happy to see so many books that I do have on my shelf, and going, oh, but wonder what that one is. I was happy to see Neil Stephenson there. You heard me
Yes.
talk about that this morning if you were paying attention. And I was like, oh, Cryptonomicon and Redime, or however you say that.
Right.
Yeah. And I was just, because he's so, I don't even know, he's an oracle.
Were you fangirling?
What's
I mean,
what?
I don't know. I was there with you, and I'm trying to figure out, like, were you being a fangirl a little bit or not? Because it was.
About Neil Stephenson? Yeah. Like, come on. I
I
mean,
could
Jeff
tell.
keeps going about Dan Farmer. Sorry, Dan. I'm like, if Neil Stevens was here, now I'm going. Sorry, this interview's over. Like, there's Neil Stevenson. I'm going to go talk to him. But
No,
I mean, I like Dan too. He's a great guy. But
Oh, I'm sure, and I fangirl a little bit over Roger Grimes
Mm.
because the cryptography apocalypse. I'm not sure why, but that still sticks with me
Hmm.
as one of the greatest reads. Even though I don't necessarily agree with all of it, it still was just like, oh my goodness, this book. Now, if that had been on the shelf, I probably would have fangirled even without Roger being here.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, everybody's got their things, right? And I mean, and I get it. And I mean, we're all like that. All of you have things like that too. But if you do get a
Yes.
chance, go by the bookstore. It's on the second floor of South, on the Esplanade. Is it South?
Is that South?
I think. Yeah,
I think it is South.
think so.
Yes.
It was cool. I mean, it's not huge or anything, but it was like a breath of not expo.
Not as it definitely. I liked how it had that almost a little bit of the homey bookstore feel.
Yeah.
You know,
You can buy books there too if you want to. They had books for sale,
and they were 10% off.
they were 10% off.
If you're looking
So
for that
I mean,
deal.
but if nothing else, it's cool to go there and see. Have I read that? And like, here's the books that people voted on as being the most successful books.
Yes.
But I will say to let that lead into something else. One of the things I've been getting to hang out with Mandy, and it really helps me to start looking at accessibility issues, and also I got to walk the dog, which was the most stressful experience of my life. And I will tell you, I have never in my whole life walked a dog.
You haven't?
No, and the whole time I was like, I know this is going to go bad. The dog is going to run away. I'm going to go back with like a chihuahua and go, I found this. It's just, I don't know. It's like so bad. Oh my
Okay,
God.
then to the audience, I'm going to say I did not know that beforehand, obviously. I had no idea. I apparently gave you more credit than may have been due. But also,
I mean, we just walked to the door. I unhooked him and said, "Fly, be free." And I was like, "I think that's what you do." But fortunately, he came back.
he's not a spider that you caught in your bathroom.
I'm taking you outside, little buddy.
No. So I did not know that, but I'm also thinking then the mental toll that you put on him by him having to take care of you.
Oh no, we
was
were good.
probably
No,
horrific.
I will. To be fair, we were good. I mean, I'm way over exaggerating. It was perfectly fine. He barked at a dog. It was like a little ratty dog. I was like, yeah, we could take him, and he barked at a pigeon. It was a street pigeon, so the pigeon kind of turned around and went, but you know, it was like, you know, it was not. He wasn't stressed. It was fine. We went over and found some grass. It was very idyllic. I sang some
It
songs.
is. Did you notice that there are 4 redwood trees? There's that little grove
Yeah,
inside
that was
the
really-
little.
yeah,
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
But okay, besides the ratty dog, I want to pivot real quick and talk about the global canine protection dogs that are on
Okay.
site.
Yeah.
So, for people who have not attended in person the last few years, there have been munitions bomb sniffing dogs.
Okay.
And so, for me, because I do travel with a medical alert and mobility assistance service animal, and I am an ambulatory wheelchair user, meaning that I walk sometimes, it's not a miracle every time that I get out of the wheelchair.
She's the most resilient person I know, because I'm like, I have to get up in the morning and be like, I don't know if I can make it, man. And it's like, you know, but you have, yeah, and I don't have anything, so I'm just like, you know, I'm just a wimp.
Well, I'm going to say that in preparation for attending, for those who may have accessibility considerations, so things like there's the quiet lounge, or if you need an area to go to decompress from stimulation, there are those very accessible standard features as part of RSAC. And for me, whenever registering, then I also let them know that yes, I am a wheelchair user and I have a medical alert and mobility assistance service animal. So for those who don't travel with a magnificent working animal, it does present a different thought process on how I prepare, because we have here for security, they need the roving dogs, the teams, the working dogs that are sniffing for anything that is a threat. But that in and of itself can cause a whole different thing, not because my animal is not capable of interacting well, but I want to make sure that everybody at the conference, that security, safety is of utmost importance. I have been at other conferences where there have been dog-on-dog violence.
Oh God.
And
Yeah, I was also thinking about that too. I was like, okay, I know. Yeah, this is gonna be. Yeah.
No, but for RSAC, it is very encouraging. It was a very seamless process for me working with the accommodations team leading up to the conference. And then Scott Esquivel of Global Canines, we had an hour meeting by phone last week
Oh,
to
that's
make
great.
sure we understood how to make this the best experience for their teams, for my working dog, especially while I'm live recording,
Uh-huh.
and accounting for any variability that may happen. And then on site, whenever Sunday I picked up my badge, we went through all the process. So as I'm familiarizing my service animal with the lay of the land and making sure he's comfortable, then Scott was a stand-up guy and walked with us and led us through all of the areas, and we got to coordinate with how we would interact or what his teams were directed as far as us being able to go through security, both with the wheelchair and with the dog, because there are certain things that it can create a huge hiccup whenever individual, like the, what are they called, the x-ray machines,
Oh,
whenever not everybody is used to dealing with the wheelchair or the
yeah, I can
additional
see that. Yeah.
paraphernalia, and it can become a pain point at a number of venues.
Oh, I'm
They've,
sure. Yeah. I was thinking. I was actually thinking about it when I was coming back. I was like, oh, there's a thing, like
there's
a
a thing,
scanning thing, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm dealing with here, and I'm like, but it was
right?
fine. Everything was smooth.
Exactly. I so appreciate how the head of security for RSAC met with me. We went through, hey, here's what's going to be our standard protocol, assigning me like certain doors if I was going to go through in and out regularly. There was a lot that was
Is,
actually
is
very
that kind of
helpful.
stuff available for anybody? I mean, that needs to talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
are maybe not wanting to come to cons or whatever,
Hmm.
there are avenues you can take to help your planning, to maybe make you less stressed about what am I going to have to deal with when I get there, and so on. And it definitely, from the outside, I don't know, I'll call it elitist perspective of not having to deal with those things, it's very easy to be dismissive of it. But even just being around a little bit makes you much more empathetic about the whole thing, and what a challenge. I mean, I'm challenged just by being here. If I had other challenges, it would be wow. I don't know. Yeah.
I
So you
appreciate
have
that.
my admiration.
Well, thank you, and and shout out to people in the expo hall, because as we made our way through the expo hall, there are certain challenges that present. Thankfully, Moscone Center is so well set up with accessibility ramps,
Mm.
with handicapped accessible doors, where like Trevor is trained to press a button, and the ones that have the
Hmm.
buttons to open the doors. And then elevators and all of the staff. There have been quite a few members of the security staff that have been, uh, I mean, just above and
Well,
beyond
that's great.
to be a, and that is not the case at all venues. That's not the case at all cons that I have attended. Um, and one thing I'm going to mention that many people don't think of, thank God for the lack of carpet, because using a wheelchair on carpet,
Yeah.
it makes it about 20 times harder to navigate and to get through things. So if you don't have a powered chair that can take it, it also runs your battery down. You end up with a lot of things. And there's a number of facilities where your ramps, especially if you're in a manual chair and you are propelling yourself, they may have an ADA compliant ramp, but it may also be 4 feet away from launching you into
Oh.
traffic or into whatever.
Oh,
And you
that.
have to
Yeah.
control yourself.
Okay. Yeah.
So, for anybody looking to attend, especially if you're a manual chair user, it's very easy. The sidewalks within the buildings, I've gone through. Oh, and the even the AIXCC experience, the part where you start with a train. You're in
Uh-huh.
like a simulated train. That was beautiful. The ramp, everything. There was a lot that was very useful.
Okay. Well, we are going to start wrapping up day 3 for us. I'm out after this. You're out after this. Pup gets a rest.
Yes.
We will be back tomorrow with more interviews, live feeds, and fun here at our SAC 2025 conference. I'm Doug White, Mandy Logan. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow.